Everyone, welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about secondary productivity. I'm assuming you've already watched a video on primary productivity, which takes place in plants. Productivity in general is biomass or energy. We can use either one, either the mass that you're forming or the energy that you're forming, and measured for some area or a number of individual organisms for some unit time. All right, and we know that in plants make their own glucose, and that glucose that plants make, well, that's going to be their gross primary productivity. Now, when plants make that glucose, there's two options. Plants can either use their glucose for storage to build more plant mass, to make more leaves and whatever other plant parts, or they can use it right away for respiration, and then they're going to lose the mass, of course, of the glucose to CO2 and H2O. So the mass that's lost to respiration, well, we account for that loss with net productivity. So just looking at the amount that's stored, that's net primary productivity. And this is what we saw for plants. Now, of course, consumers, heterotrophs, those of us who can't make our own food, we do the same process. We get glucose, we can use it for respiration, we can use it to make energy right away, or we can use it to build more biomass. Now, what's the only difference? Well, in order to get glucose, we need to get it from somewhere. We can't just make our own glucose, we need to eat the glucose. So when we look at secondary productivity, this is for heterotrophs, anyone who can't make their own glucose. And of course, we need to ingest food because we can't make our own glucose, we can't do photosynthesis. And just like before, some of that energy or mass gets stored. The only difference with consumers is some of the mass also gets lost to excretion, to waste. Plants don't have feces or urine in the same way that consumers do. And so that's the extra piece that we have to account for with secondary productivity. So with secondary productivity, we have the food we eat, it goes inside of us, and some of it comes out as waste. And so looking at gross secondary productivity, excuse me, we have food eaten minus fecal loss. So everything that actually stays inside our body. Now, just like before, we can use some of this for storage, some of this for respiration. Net productivity always takes into account respiration, the amount that's being lost to respiration, and gets at just the amount stored. We also call that the amount assimilated. So net secondary productivity is GSP minus respiration. So we can visualize this here. Of course, plants can either, they're going to make their own glucose, they can use it for cellular respiration, or they can use it as storage. So net primary productivity takes into account respiration loss. Gross primary productivity is just how much glucose the plants make. Now, we can't just look at how much glucose goes in because we also lose some. So gross secondary productivity, instead of just being the total amount of glucose made, gross secondary productivity is food eaten minus fecal loss, and then just like before, net secondary productivity subtracts out respiration. All right, that's all you need to know for now. We're going to work on some practice problems in class, but thanks for watching. Let your teacher know what questions you have.